I'm Emilio Benfenati of Istituto di Ricerche Farmacologiche Mario Negri in Milan, Italy. And we will talk about the project which is called the Life of VERMEER, which has been funded by the European Commission. And indeed, the project was funded within the area which is dedicated to the substitution of risky chemicals. The VERMEER project is basically the idea is to combine tools for the exposure, in particular Merlin Expo, and tools for VEGA. And here I refer to in silico tools, because indeed in the past, so far, there were only tools specifically dedicated or to cope with hazard or to cope with exposure. But if you need to make a risk assessment, of course, you have to combine these two components. And so at the basis of the project, of the Life of VERMEER project, is indeed the idea to have within one single software platform, software system, different components, so that this will facilitate, point of view of the user, the evaluation regarding risk assessment. But this is only the first part of the project, because the whole project is dedicated to substitution, which is a very timely point. But in order to substitute, to identify priorities, you need the substitution ideally can be based on the results which produced the risky chemicals. And so that's why we have put in place this indeed complex structure, which first evaluate the risk assessment and then try to generate, to produce, to propose candidates for substitution. Of course, this is a huge task, a huge challenge, and what we simply want to do is to identify the general strategy and to propose some case studies, some possibilities related to these 6 examples. And so in the future, this is the idea that this can be then exploited to many more other situations based on this approach. The VERMEER project has a number of partners. As Gianluca already said, I'm the coordinator. Coordinator is the Istituto Mario Negri in Milan here, and within the consortium there are partners which are basically dedicated to the development. We're speaking about the software, so we need partners which are involved in the development of tools, making future code. We have partners which are closer to the exploitation, to the specific sectors, for instance, under consulting. We have partners which are, on the other side, are closer to the authorities, to the policy point of view. And so the partners here I refer to BFR, I refer to Inerisa, to Cinsano. EDF is the Electricité de France, is the developer of original developer together with making future of the Merlin Expo component. And we also, regarding the interaction with the stakeholder, in particular the industrial stakeholder, we have also Sviluppo Chimica, which is, let's say, related to the Federchimica Association in Italy. Substitution is a challenge, as I said. Why? Because it's a multitask problem. Because if you improve something, it may be that you, on the other side, you're moving towards worse situation. And so we multitask means that also we should take into account adverse properties, but also the functional uses. So we want to avoid some adverse feature, but the material, the substance that we want to use should be the right substance for that particular use. There's some background noise, so please check if the micro is your micro is off. VERMEER is mainly focused on the adverse properties. Of course, each industry, each industrial sector has, on the other side, think about real applications, real substance, but this is not part of the VERMEER project, the functional use. So the VERMEER is mainly addressing the adverse property, which anyhow is a huge challenge, because also here we have to take into account, as I explained, both the hazard and the exposure. And hazard, not only one single property, because there are multiple situations, and exposure again is not one single situation and scenario. And so what we have proposed is some examples of these 6 case studies. What I want to mention is that all this system should be somehow wrapped into one single approach on a conceptual point of view. And so, as I said, if we want to ameliorate and plan new, safer chemicals, ideally we should take into account everything, the adverse property and also the, let's say, beneficial, the functional use. This part of the story, the adverse properties, of course, is of interest both of authorities, so the public, and the industry. Conversely, it's only in the interest of industry to put on the market a certain chemical. And so here, what I can anticipate, what I can imagine is a new scenario where we have one single system, one single approach. Maybe there are, and surely there will be more software which can be linked to this strategy. But there should be, on a conceptual point of view, and ideally also on an implementation point of view, the same environment, but this aspect should be, let's say, addressed with tools which are the same tools used by industry and authorities. While within the same conceptual scheme, there should be multiple components for each individual industrial sector. So this, I think, is the general scheme idea of the VERMEER. As I said, we were speaking about in silico model, which has a lot of advantages. So there's no need of a test, no need of experiment. We can cope with multiple endpoints depending also on the scenario, the substance, the human, tox, environmental properties. And before VERMEER, there were many problems because there are tools individual for the hazard and for the exposure, but not one single system. And also there's not one single official guidance. Now, the European Commission is moving toward this idea of one substance, one assessment. In some cases, user may ask, okay, but where can I find my model? In some cases also there are multiple models, so this also is a problem of redundancy. So which model should I use? And the idea should integrate all the tools within a weight of evidence approach strategy. The other part is how to interpret the results of psychomotor taking into account for the applicability domain, the documentation associated to the model. And ideally, these tools should be documented, but easy also to understand, even if they are quite complex, as I said. So the solution which has been established within VERMEER is to establish a bridge link between VERMEER and MERLI-ESPO. These tools, for instance, VEGA, are used by ECA, also by EFSA. So something that you go there and you can find what you need. So it's not the idea to have tens of individual models, but if you're interested in cosmetic, if you're interested in something in that component, ideally you can find everything that you need. So multiple tools wrapped, clicking one single button to get ideally what you need, integrating the results, and also this should be related to the specific sector, also related to the threshold, which may be applicable for cosmetics, but not for other sectors. So these are the 6 case studies I already anticipated. So we have put attention into the situation of food content material, biocides, oil fractions, solvents, dispersants, and so cosmetics. And the idea is to develop components where you have all you need. As you see, something are more related to the human toxicity, human endpoints, other to the environment. And this should be, of course, they are very focused because they were speaking about different sectors, different kind of application, and the threshold and the regulation, of course, and nowadays we have in Europe a different regulation for cosmetics, for related to food content material, for the environment. So all this should be also taken into account. And once you have identified these adverse substances of higher concern, this should be also linked with this other tool that is called the Toxerase, that propose safer, greener alternatives. So here within VERMEER, we have these 2 collection of tools, what we call tools for risk assessment, the VERMEER tools. They can be used alone as if you are simply interested in risk assessment, that's fine. And in addition, the tools for substitution. So today you will see the VERMEER project. Previously, during the project, we called them the Sphera tools. Now that the project is finished, we have improved the version, and they are called the VERMEER tools. Maybe some of you are more familiar in the case of cosmetics, the Sphera cosmetic. Now, the new version is called the VERMEER tools. And so this is basically what I wanted to say to introduce. And we can start indeed the visit to this individual tools so that you will see more in details what we are speaking about. Thank you for your attention so far, but the good part of the project is that we will start right now.